thing when I made that video that is now very popular, right, on lacto fermentation, right? By that time, I had sort of started to go beyond what Indians just did in terms of, say, idli, right? And idli dosa batter, which again, my mother used to do, my grandmother used to do, and then curd, like yogurt. Then I started lacto fermenting vegetables, right? And so on, right? So,
like kimchi.
yeah, so kimchi is the one way. So the simple, so basically, the simple science is that lactobacteria have kind of evolved around human beings over the last, 5,000-10,000 years as grains and other high calorie sugary items are around us. So these bacteria are like, oh, there's a lot of free food buffets there. No? So they've all co-evolved around us and co-evolved to the point where they're also able to live in our gut and sort of have that symbiotic relationship, right? So the interesting thing is that you can actually lacto ferment anything, right? It's not just yogurt, right? So anything that has enough sugars or starches can be lacto fermented, and because it's lived close to human beings, it has also become salt tolerant. Because human beings consume a fair amount of salt. Our food is also quite salty, and it has given it an evolutionary advantage over the other pathogenic bacteria, which are all, salt is a preservative in most cases, it kills bacteria, but up to 2% salt, lactobacteria is able to tolerate, right, which other bacteria are not able to, right? So therefore, human beings have then figured out that if I keep that 2% salt solution and then put anything like carrots, right, any kind of vegetable, cabbage, or any of these things, garlic, chilies even, right, over a 2 to 3 week period. Sometimes some of them like cucumber and all will like 2-3 days, it's enough, right?
2-3 days of what?
2-3 days of submerging it completely under water in a 2% solution. So generally the weight of the vegetable and the water, you have to weigh together. 2% of that you have to add salt. So that's the 2% concentration.
See, let me understand this. So you take a weighing scale, you put a cucumber, you put water, salt, and salt.
Yes. First, you put water. You put a cucumber. Make sure it is fully submerged. Sometimes many of these things will float, so you have to put something heavy to keep it inside. Because otherwise, you want anaerobic fermentation. You do not want
aerobic fermentation.
That is the bad stuff.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then you have fungus also will form on top. So you don't want it. Even now, yeast will form on top, which is harmless. As long as it is not black color, the white one you can just skim off. It's calm yeast, which is okay, not like poisonous for you, right? Then you will have the fermentation that happens underneath. Now.
No, wait.
So you measure. You measure.
Let's say 100 grams.
100 grams. So you give weighing scale. You put a glass. You tear it so that the weight of the glass is this thing. You put the cucumber. You add water. You see the total weight. Once you're happy with that weight, now whatever is that weight, 2% of that you add.
Okay, so
100 grams means 2 grams of salt.
2 grams of salt. You put it inside.
Yeah.
So the salt will go down.
The salt will dissolve. Dissolve in that water. And then you cannot keep it sealed. You still need let it breathe. So maybe a cheesecloth or some kind of cloth and a rubber band, right? 2-3 days. Keep paying attention and removing that yeast that will come. White yeast that will come, right? And then in 2 days, the cucumber will ferment. And it'll have that same sour taste that yogurt does. Same lactic acid, right? Carrots.
Let me ask you, is this the same cucumber pickle that
So, yeah, historically, yes, but eventually industrial production of pickle, they cannot deal with fermentation. So, they just simply use vinegar or they use acid directly. Acetic acid is directly used. Salt and acid is directly used. Here, you're letting the bacteria eat the sugars, produce the lactic acid and the sourness comes. So eventually you just, so right now it's actually, many of our historical pickles used to be lacto-fermented pickles. So your mango and all of that. No, they just, uppu manga is just basically salt and mango. That salt prevents other bacteria. Over time, the mango actually ferments, lacto-ferments. That is when it's actually probiotic and super healthy, right? Modern day pickles you buy from a store, factories cannot deal with fermentation. It's too unreliable, it's unpredictable. It's much harder. So they can only do yogurt now. They don't do fermented pickles at all, right? So they basically just dunk the pickles in oil and something acidic and spicy and salt. So that way it is just simply preserved without spoilage. Excess oil, excess salt and those kinds of things, right?
So that mango pickle, tamarind pickle, that is not fermented food.
So what you buy in the store is not fermented food. What you make at home in a jar, where it's not oil, it's water. That is
exactly. Homemade pickle.
Yes, right. And sometimes you put the salt you squeeze it, the water will come out of the thing. That itself is enough. You don't need to add further water in case of pickling. Right? That's what people used to do. Cram the whole thing. How is kimchi made, right? So you put all the vegetables, you add something salty, and you just squeeze the whole thing so that the liquid comes above.
Correct.
And then you let it for months, and then it will slowly lacto ferment into same thing. Yeah.
Usually, you have been in US, correct?
Yes, yes.
And you see US pickle?
Yes, US pickle is now, that is, again, this is industrially produced salt and acid fermented.
Oh, so that is also
vinegar,
not...
Yeah, it's vinegar and salt.
But that pickle is pretty big.
Yeah, big. They just cut the whole thing and you soak it long enough, right? And then it will slowly become
I see.
Your acid will denature most of the protein. That's why you get that texture and that's it.
Oh, okay.
So lacto fermentation is usually all of the stuff that takes a little bit time, right? So your carrots will take a few more days. Cucumber is very fast, right? Chilies will take 2-3 weeks. So the beauty of fermenting chilies is that you can ferment the chilies and then make a hot sauce that will be so much more flavorful.
Wow.
Because and probiotic, because it is a lot more umami, because the bacteria will also create a lot more glutamates, break the amino acids and so on, and then also it will have that sort of more umami flavor.
Wow.
Right? So sriracha, a famous hot sauce made in California.
Correct.
Fermentation is the key to its flavor.
I see.
So the 3 weeks they ferment.
But that is store-bought though.
It is store-bought, but the reason it's so globally popular is that only that company makes it, and that they've always used fermentation. So they ferment, and then after that, to increase its preservativeness, then they add further vinegar and lime and other things to stop the fermentation. So you get the benefits of whatever it produced, but it is not probiotic. I mean, before they sell it to you, they are adding enough acid and salt to make sure that the existing microbes are killed. So yeah, but it has the taste advantage of being fermented.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you still continue your mother's cultures?
She is continuing her culture. I think, although I have borrowed several times. So what I end up doing is that sometimes we end up traveling too much and then it's not possible, right? So then we'll borrow again, right? Or sometimes when it's too inconvenient, we'll buy from the store. And so on. But yeah, but she still continues.
She still continues. Yes. So, you know, I talk a lot about fermented foods here because there are actually four F's that I usually say. The first, for gut bacteria, is fiber.
Yes.
Second one is fermented.
Yes.
Third one is if you have these two F, the third F is fun. You'll have fun.
Yes.
The last one is there'll be no farting.
Yes.
Okay. These are the fourth for good gut.
Yes.